Hello YouTube, Scamp the Wolf here, back with another video for your viewing pleasure. And in this video we're going to be talking about the new Red album, Rated R, just came out, along with the new Taproot album, Scissors. I'm going to be reviewing both of these albums, so yeah, it was a pretty big night for music, so I'm just going to be reviewing these two albums in separate reviews. If you see me looking here, I'm just trying to pull it up on Spotify so I can read the track listing for the album I'm going to be reviewing. So please forgive me about that. But yeah, there's going to be two separate videos. One reviewing Rated R and the other one reviewing Scissors by Taproot. And Rated R, obviously, by Red. So if you want to see both those reviews, click on those videos respectively. In fact, you've already probably more than likely clicked on Rated R by Red review, the review for that album, so, because you're already here. So, alright, enough of me talking. Let's get into the album. And right off the bat, I am going to say this is a very big improvement over their last album, Declaration, which I thought was one of their weakest albums to date. I felt that at the time, and I still feel that Declaration is their weakest, or at least one of their weakest albums, right next to Release the Panic. And yeah, for me to say Rated R is a huge improvement and is probably one of their best albums is basically like very unlikely, but I really feel like it is true. This is probably their best since of Beauty and Rage or Until We Have Faces, one of those two albums. So I'm gonna get into some history for a little bit, like with my opinion on Rated R and stuff like that. And before that, I am a big Red fan. They were one of the first bands to get me into rock music, Christian rock. When I started that out, like in my teenage years, like I was like a huge fan of Red. So I've been a fan for about 14 years. It's going to be 15 years pretty soon, which is pretty insane, to say the least. Like, it hasn't really felt that long, but I mean, I've watched this band grow basically into what they are today. So it's kind of been cool to see throughout the years and stuff like that, like all their different albums and stuff, their eras and stuff. So yeah, it's been good with Red. So yeah, to this day, Instinct and Instinct is still probably my favorite album for Red. Second best would be Until We Have Faces. It used to be a Beating Rage, but like it's kind of like scaled back, and basically Until We Have Faces is probably my second favorite album from Red. A Beating Rage would be somewhere like third or fourth, depending on where I put Rated R on the ranking list. So if you're expecting a ranking list from Red, which will be coming after I buy Rated R, I have not bought it yet. Well, I'm sorry, but if you want to have more context, just watch the video whenever I do that. But anyway, on to Rated R. This album. Obviously, like, there is one thing to point out here, that's that the production is way, way better than the last album. I thought that the last album kind of sounded very muddy in the mix. Yes, it was Rob Graves doing it, and Rob Graves is not producing this album. It's self-produced by the band. This one, but I felt that one was a bit muddier, like in comparison to like the production here. This one, it's clean, crisp. Vocals come in very well. Like drums, everything just comes in so well on this album. Like that's really the one big thing that I like about this album right off the bat is the production. And about like Brian Medeiros' drumming, which is he's the new drummer for the band, obviously, and you can hear like I was expecting a little bit more diversity in the drums based on what we got from the singles, which were Surrogates, Mice and All, Cold World, especially the Cold World and Surrogates. Those two had really good drumming. I was expecting a little bit more drumming, like unique drumming, a little bit, but I mean, like for the rest of the album, he still does a very good job on drums, I think. I think he does bring a lot of energy to this album. Like, he's very good behind the kit. Better than their last drummer, definitely. I even I feel like their last drummer kind of like stuck with the Red thing. I like with Red sound or whatever. I feel like the new drummer for Red like brings a lot of like what is considered kind of like unique to this album. One thing to definitely note about Rated R by Red is that it is very it's the same sound you would expect from Red, but I feel like this album they do a lot of things that are like different but still have that Red signature sound to them. And that is probably the best way to like put it. It is like kind of an amalgamation of all of Red's like albums basically. Like you got like the violin, which has a heavy presence on this album. Then the guitars, of course. Then the electronic side comes out on a few tracks, and it's a very eclectic mix, I think, on this album. Um, yeah, but like I said, Circuits, Midas It All, Cold World, all three of those songs excellent. I think they are very good, and they provide a lot of like entertainment value from listening to them. I think Circuits is probably one of the more unique tracks on the album. Now that I've listened to the whole thing, in fact, I feel like a lot of tracks are pretty unique on this album. Like for example, Your Devil's a Ghost, which is track 2. That one kind of has a unique. I don't know if it's like Mike Barnes singing like the intro to the song or whatever, but that part's kind of different. Like that part's very good in that song. I feel like the drumming and everything like that really comes together. Like the vocal melodies are very good. Like there's like astounding on this album. Like they're very uniquely constructed on this album. I feel like Mike Barnes really did a much better job here on this album, even with his scream vocals, than he did on Declaration. I feel like Declaration was a misstep for Mike Barnes. I mean, except for the singing department, he's always been good at singing. His screaming kind of like lost me a little bit on the last album. This one though, like his screams are great again, and that's what I like about this album and the songs on it. Is that like the screaming is good again, and like everything else is amped up so much to where it's enjoyable again. Going into track 5, I haven't talked about the rest of the album yet. Tell Me How to Say Goodbye, pretty like ballad-esque track. Um Definitely good. I think this was what the song that they were teasing before the album came out, because like you could tell some of the it sounds like what was played in that intro that was like released like earlier this year. And it's a good song, I think. Um and then you have other tracks, of course, like The Suffering, Still Bleeding. Great tracks. Still Bleeding especially I really enjoy out of the songs that we haven't heard yet. That one and Your Devil's a Ghost. Very good songs. And then Last Forever and Emergency, again, very good songs, I think. Our Time Will Come, even, is a good song. Like, even though I think Our Time Will Come is one of the weaker songs on the album, didn't nearly have me as captivated as the rest of the album, but I mean, it's still a good song. It's way better than the worst on Declaration, and even like the mid stuff that was on Declaration, I think. So yeah, definitely good on that. And also, like, if there is one complaint I have, it's that you have Midas It All, Surrogates, The Suffering, and you have Our Time Will Come, in a way, that kind of have similar riff patterns, similar sounds. They're all kind of in the same key, even though The Suffering kind of shifts up in the chorus. And that's still a good song, but like I would like to see a little bit of diversion, like a little bit more of a diverse like song palette or whatever. Maybe that's just me, who knows. And also, like the songs on this album are pretty short. Like there's no song that's over 4 minutes or under 2 minutes. Or, no, there's no song let me rephrase that. There's no songs that are over or under 3 minutes. Each song on this album is around the 3 minute mark to somewhere around the 3 minute 49 mark. With Tell Me How to Say Goodbye being the longest song and Surrogates being the shortest. And I really want Red to try out something longer, something like, I don't know, 7-8 minutes. That would be pretty dope, I think, if Red tried that out. Like, that would be very interesting to see, like, if Red could pull off, like, a very long song or whatever. Like, this is probably their shortest album, like, 33 minutes in length across 10 tracks. And yeah, that's basically the complaint that I have for this album. But I mean, like, if it's 10 tracks, which some people have said that, oh, Red always does 10-track albums and stuff, that's not really a concern to me. Like, if it's 10 tracks, it's fine. It's fine. You will enjoy the album nonetheless, even if it has only 10 tracks and you want more. That's not really a legit complaint, in my opinion. And so, yeah, that's basically it. Like, it's an album, like, I mean, if you want more Red, listen to their discography, I guess. Like, you want, like, more Red, like, just listen to more Red music. Like, if you get tired of Rated R, listen to other Red albums. But I guess I'm just going off on a tangent, I guess. Like, the main point of the album here, Rated R by Red, is that it's a very good album. It is probably one of their best that I've heard in a while. It is definitely one of the best albums of the year. One of the best rock albums of the year, for sure. And rock has had a good year. I mean, like, we've had several good bands come out with albums, and Red definitely is among one of them. I'm confident in giving this a 9. I think it is definitely worthy of a 9 in my opinion. I can't really think otherwise until maybe the new album smell wears off or something like that. Like, which is basically, I don't know, like, whatever. But I am giving this a 9 out of 10. I think it is a very solid album. I think it is, like, pretty good. I'm curious to see how this album fares with the fan base, besides myself, of course. Like, because, I mean, you have people who are, like, the elitists who think, like, not necessarily elitists, but, like, they only like the orchestra kind of sound that Red does, the violins and, like, all that stuff. They only like that, and they don't like the electronics as much, which is like something that, like, drives me crazy about the Red fan base, is that they don't like that style, the more electronic style. They like just one style, and that's all they want from Red. I think Rated R does please everybody. I think, like, there's, like, people who like the electronic side and orchestra side, and it kind of just melts itself together. Like, if you like End of Silence, you will like this record. If you like Release the Panic, you will like this album. Gone, like Innocence and Instinct, all those albums, you will definitely like this album. This album has something for everybody, I think. It is like I said, an amalgamation of sounds from Red, and it's enjoyable. It's a 9, and I don't really have anything else that I haven't said already. So definitely leave your response in the comment section down below. I'm curious to see what you think of this album. And keep out for the Taproot review, which is coming up right after this video. So yeah, that's it. This is Skip Wolf signing out. Take care.